But the rules of naming a cocktail are pretty simple. First rule is it should never be vulgar. It should never, you don't, believe me, in the 80s, it was all about being vulgar. I mean, we had slippery nipples and we had, Texas mother effers, and they didn't say effers. There was, oh my gosh, there's so Sex on the Beach. What's that?
The man in the pink dress.
The man in the pink dress. Never heard that one, but okay, that's fine. Listen, there's all kinds of vulgar ones out there. Liquid cocaine was Rumpelminz and Jägermeister. Ugh. Yeah, there's a screaming orgasm, and then there's the, skip and go naked, and the orbit go naked, and there's all kinds of crazy, the Nutty Irishman, which is. So we don't want to do anything that is vulgar. 2, we don't want to do anything that is can be construed as a racial slur, like an Irish car bomb. It's like, okay, that. When you guys before your time, but back in the day, the IRA, which is the Irish Republican whatever, they were fighting. Northern Ireland was fighting Southern Ireland. This is happening in our lifetime, in the 70s and 80s, and they were bombing stuff, and it was a big deal. And there was all kinds of terrorism, what we call terrorism today, but they were infighting, and they were setting off car bombs. Well, okay, you take a beer, you take a shot of whatever it is, and sometimes call it a depth charge, but calling it an Irish car bomb, you throw it in there and throw it back. It's like, by the way, wicked headache. Ooh. So nothing that is vulgar or racial slur. We want to stay from all religious references because we don't know our guests' relative religion. So, I think in this part of the country, it's pretty safe to say most people are Christian, but not everybody. And, we don't want to offend anybody. So you want to stay away from names like stigmata or something like that, because it's just not appropriate to do anything religious or political, and definitely not political. Definitely not political. I will tell you, I did one cocktail that had a political name, but only because it didn't offend either side. Both sides got a good laugh out of it. And I did a cocktail. Have you ever heard of a Dark and Stormy? A Dark and Stormy is made with ginger beer and light rum and lime. And I put that all together, but instead of, and it has a float of Gosling's Black Seal rum over the top to make it look like a storm rolling in. So instead of using Gosling's Black Seal, I have the cocktail on here. It's called Tempest Obscura. But instead of calling it, what I did was I removed the Black Seal rum and I put on a little bit of Jack Daniels. And I have this float of Jack Daniels in this Dark and Stormy. So I called it a Stormy Daniels. And everybody got a good laugh out of that, and nobody was particularly offended. But Stormy Daniels, so I eventually changed that name because I didn't want to offend anybody. We can't offend, somebody might get upset or offended by that. So let's take it off the list. If you don't know who Stormy Daniels is, then never mind, don't worry about it. So that was that. Finally, what's the last rule of, it can't infringe on a trademark.
So like Piggly Wiggly.
You can't call it the Piggly Wiggly, but we can
call it Wiggly Piggly.
We call it the Wiggly Piggly. There's no problem with that. And you can't infringe, you can't even make a nice, green cucumber cocktail and call it the Incredible Hulk or the Avenger or, Captain America. You just can't do that because you don't want Marvel coming in here and suing your bum. So that's why, those are the rules, okay? Beyond that, naming a cocktail should should elicit a story. It should have people, either the name is self-explanatory or it inspires your guest to say, why is it called that? It's cute, it's clever, why do you call it that? And you have a story to tell. And you want to keep it short, and if they have some alliteration, and easy to pronounce. It doesn't do you any good to do, you don't want to call a cocktail the Shakora. People are like, is it Shakara? Is it Sakoi? What does that even mean? The Shakora. So we come up with names that are like, You know, the Wiggly Piggly, that's easy. Oh, that's like kind of like the Piggly Wiggly. Yeah, well, we use bacon in there, so it's a way to a bacon fat wash. It tells a story, right? So that's the rules of naming a cocktail.